All right, let's just jump right in. The world of money, it's a strange place, isn't it? We're often taught to think about it like it's a science, all about math and spreadsheets. But what if the real game, the one that actually matters, isn't played on a calculator at all? What if it's played inside our own heads? Yeah, this is all about the psychology of money. I mean, think about this for a second. Why is it that some of the most brilliant people on the planet can be an absolute disaster with their finances? We've all seen it happen. Meanwhile, you have people with perfectly ordinary incomes who build incredible wealth. And the reason for that, well, it has almost nothing to do with how smart you are. And this right here, this is the absolute heart of it all. The myth we're sold is that money is a math problem. But the reality? It's so much more personal than that. You see, financial success isn't really about what you know, it's about how you behave. It's not a hard science, it's a soft skill. And that changes everything. So that brings us to our first big idea, what we're calling the money psychology gap. This is where we're going to dig into why our financial decisions are so deeply and honestly so invisibly shaped by our own personal history. This is such a powerful idea. No one is crazy when it comes to their money. A decision that looks completely irrational to you, well, it might make perfect sense to someone else, all based on their unique life experiences. We're all just making choices with the very limited information that we've gathered from our own lives. And just how limited is that information? Well, get a load of this number. The financial events that you personally have lived through and witnessed, they make up this microscopic fraction of all the financial events that have ever happened. It is a tiny window to the world. And yet, and this is the wild part, that minuscule little sliver of personal experience, that 0.001%, it ends up shaping about 80% of how we think the financial world works. It's a massive over-reliance on a really small sample size, and it's exactly why we all have such different and often conflicting ideas about money. This quote just makes it all so real. Someone with a high income might look at a lottery ticket and think, what a foolish waste of money, the odds are terrible. But for someone with far fewer options, it's not a financial calculation at all. It might be the only chance they feel they have to buy a little bit of hope. Their personal experience makes that decision totally logical for them. Okay, let's move on because this all builds on itself. Since our personal experience is so incredibly limited, we often miss two of the most powerful forces in finance, luck and risk. And you really can't understand what wealth is until you understand these two things. The key thing to get here is that luck and risk are really just two sides of the very same coin. Of course, Bill Gates was brilliant, but he also had a massive dose of luck. His equally smart friend, Kent Evans, he was a victim of tragic risk. We can't control these forces, not really, but we absolutely have to acknowledge that they exist. This brings us to maybe one of the single hardest concepts in all of finance, knowing when you actually have enough. In this story, the author Joseph Heller points out that even though a billionaire had way more money, he, Heller, had something far more valuable, the feeling of contentment. That goalpost for enough is a really dangerous thing to keep moving. So if wealth isn't just about endlessly piling up more, then what is it? I absolutely love this definition. It's not the flashy car you see someone driving. Real wealth is the money they didn't spend. It's the financial assets working for them behind the scenes, creating options and freedom. True wealth is what you don't see. And building that invisible wealth, it often comes down to something called tail events. Think of it like this. Most of your investment returns are going to come from a tiny handful of massive wins. You can actually be wrong most of the time, but if you get one or two things spectacularly right, it can change everything. The real key is just staying in the game long enough for those big wins to have a chance to happen. Which leads us perfectly into our third section, playing the survival game. Because if those big tail events are what drive all the returns, then the single most important financial skill you can have is simply not getting wiped out. It's all about endurance. This slide really captures a crucial mental shift. The mindset that helps you get rich, taking big risks, being wildly optimistic, is often the polar opposite of the mindset you need to stay rich. Staying rich is all about humility, a healthy dose of fear, and just surviving the inevitable tough times. So, how do you play this survival game? Well, it really comes down to these three pillars. First, you need to be financially unbreakable so you can ride out any market storm. Second, build in a huge margin for error. Trust me, your plan is never going to go exactly as you think. And third, you want to be optimistic about the long-term future, but paranoid about the short-term obstacles that can knock you out. Part of survival is also psychological. We have to learn to avoid the sunk cost trap. Just because you threw money at a bad idea yesterday doesn't mean you should throw more at it tomorrow. That money is gone. The only thing that matters is making the best possible decision for your future self, starting right now. And this all brings us to the final and, I think, the most important question of all. Why are we even playing this game? What is the ultimate point of all this planning and saving? The answer? Well, it's not a number in a bank account. It's freedom. And this is the highest form of wealth there is. It has nothing to do with luxury goods. It's about waking up in the morning and getting to say, I can do whatever I want today. That control over your time, that autonomy, that is the ultimate dividend that money can ever pay. This slide shows how that philosophy can translate into a real strategy. Notice what this example portfolio is designed for. It's not for the absolute highest returns possible. No, it's designed for peace of mind. The cash, the paid-off home, they're there to make sure you can sleep at night, so you're never forced to sell your investments at the worst possible time. It's a portfolio built to survive. And this brilliant quote from the legendary Charlie Munger just sums it all up, doesn't it? The real magic of compounding isn't about chasing insane returns. It's about earning pretty good returns for a very, very long time without being interrupted. And that peace of mind portfolio, that's what lets you stay in the game long enough for the magic to happen. So we'll end on this thought. The goal isn't just to get rich. The goal is to be free. And that forces us to ask a much deeper, much more personal question than how much money do I need? Instead, maybe we should be asking ourselves, what does it truly cost to live my life completely on my own terms? And what changes can I start making today to pay that price?